morning, good afternoon, whoever, wherever you are, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching a recording later. We are here, and my name is Shannon Paul. I'm with Paul Realty Group, and you're here with the virtual home selling seminar. And basically, the questions we're getting asked every single day is, how can you sell your home for top dollar in today's marketplace, safe and successfully, and can it even happen? And today on this call with me, I have someone very special who is a fantastic lender, an amazing person, and we've helped a lot of people close projects up and home sales, etc. Her name is Gina Howard. Gina, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, Gina Howard, Senior Loan Officer with Movement Mortgage. How are you? Hope you're enjoying your Friday. Beautiful out. Been with Movement for the last 2 years. Movement's been in business since 2008, actually, and we're known for closing quick and getting people officially pre-approved. So when they put the offer in, you can meet the seller's needs by automatically removing those financial contingencies. So that's where we stand out, and we'll elaborate on that later.
I love it. Gina is amazing. She's fun. She's funny. She
Thank
knows
you.
her data. She has great rates, and she closes everything. And that's what that's what matters most when you're selling your property. So
We did this open house together.
we did, actually. You're
Yeah,
right.
I'm like, oh, I recognize that house.
That's funny. I didn't even do that on purpose, Gina. It was just a beautiful
okay.
house.
That was a beautiful house. And
Yeah.
you got multiple offers on that, I remember.
Yeah, we had it listed for a week. We had multiple offers. We went $40,000 over asking, and we did the remodel on this. Also, we helped our clients do the remodel. It was not a flip. They just wanted to remodel it to get top dollar.
Yeah, Shannon did amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That was great. That was a really nice plug. Thanks.
Yeah, hey, no, absolutely. It's the truth.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into it. This is me and my contact information, and basically why should you listen to me or to Gina? Hopefully because we have shining personalities. But to be realistic, we have data. We're data-driven women, and we know how to help things sell for top dollar and how to navigate these uncharted waters and these unprecedented times. Oh, Gina, there you are. This is Gina and her contact information with Movement Mortgage. Now we're going to dive right in. And these are the questions that we get asked every day and that I'm answering every day on phone calls, on online, on Facebook, on Instagram, et cetera, and making videos and emails about all this information as well. But you guys are getting the cutting edge info right now. And what we're going to talk about is, how is the market? What's really happening? Is now a good time to sell? Or is it not a good time to sell? Is there any buyer demand out there? Are people even looking at properties? How do we sell safely in today's environment? I know you can read these, but I think it's powerful to also read them. What is virtual home selling process, and how do I sell for top dollar in a pandemic? So we're going to dig through the data. And first one up is, how's the market? So, I mean, this one, you know, the American economy had the pause button pressed on it. We were crushing the first quarter as far as buyers and sellers getting what they wanted. And we were on a new trajectory that we hadn't seen. It just was so many buyers and so many sellers flooding the market. In fact, Gina, refinances were going through the roof too, right? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, my cat was meowing, so I had to put it on mute. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we exceeded all our goals, and just above and beyond. It was insane. And same thing for April too. It was just inundated. I mean, the rates are just amazing, and we'll get into that again later too.
Yeah. So as we were getting this pause button pushed, we were seeing numbers that we hadn't seen in the previous year. So everyone was buying and everyone was selling. Yeah. And now here comes the corona pandemic, and the economy got pressed pause. So basically we want to know, is now a good time to sell or not? And let's dig into the data to unwrap this or unpack it. If we look at all the major financial institutions, we're going to do kind of like a market deep dive first to understand if it is a good time to sell. Once the coronavirus hit, we saw a GDP drop in the first quarter. The data just came out of 4.8%. So we know that drop is obvious. We knew it was coming. I mean, I think it was like 25 or 35 states were shut down and doing a homestay program. So we knew this was happening. And we're seeing the dive down in the economy into Q2, which is where we're at right now. The good thing is that major financial institutions are predicting a V recovery. And what that means in layman's terms is that we're going to go down hard and fast, but we're going to come out of this hard and fast also. They're predicting that in Q3, we're going to start to see an uptick in the GDP, and in Q4 as well. These are the major banks, the Goldman Sachs, the JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo. These are the big players that have the economists doing a lot of data and research to understand where we're going and where we came from. If we look at home price changes over the last 5 recessions, and there's talk of, is this a recession? And by definition, it's 2 months or 2 quarters of the GDP lowering. And obviously we're lowering our GDP and we're lowering what's happening in the economy right now because of the virus. Now, this is more like a tragedy than a regular or a housing crisis. And if we look at this, the home prices over the last 5 recessions, in 2008, and Gina, this is your world. 2008, the loans were terrible. Almost anyone could get a loan. And unfortunately, because of those lending standards, that led to the crisis that we had in 2008. And now this crisis that we're experiencing now has nothing to do with lending. In fact, lending was, I don't even know the term I want to use, but it was pushing hard and fast. We had very low interest rates and people could get loans, but it was a lot more stringent to get those loans. Now, if we look back at the other recessions, out of the other 4, only 1 had home prices drop. And actually, home prices increased over the last 4 as well. So this is not, and I'm going to repeat, this is not like 2008. This is not a housing crisis. This is a health crisis.
Yes.
And this health crisis should not impact home values. And we're going to dig into that more. But look at these last recessions, and we had increase in values 3 of the last 4, which is awesome news.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to rebound from this quickly.
Absolutely. Now this graph, I toyed with putting this in here or not because it's a very confusing graph and there's a lot of data on it. And what I want this graph really to show is unemployment. And everyone's asking, well, how is unemployment going to affect home sales? And without getting into this too deeply, if you watch the yellow line is the unemployment rates. And if you watch the blue line is the home sales. And that little gray spot in the middle is 2008, which we were talking about, which was the housing crisis that we just passed, that we're all having PTSD from.
Yes.
So what I really want to show is that unemployment rates do not directly impact home sales, which is awesome. So even though unemployment is going through the roof, and I mean, it's tragic. What we're experiencing is unprecedented, and it's not light, and it's not fun. But you know what? We can use this data to understand how do we as American citizens work on selling or buying in today's economy, or just hold on to our value overall. And God willing, we will get through this faster as soon as they get a cure or a, what is the word, Gina, for a shot, antibody, a vaccine. Thank you.
You're
vaccine for this. And we'll get out of this faster. But the biggest thing to notice right here is unemployment rates do not affect directly home sales. No. So even as you're seeing the unemployment rate skyrocket, it's not affecting the home sales. So do we think this is a housing crisis? No. And here's some more data to prove why. Mm-hmm. Annual home appreciation right before the housing crash was at an all-time high. I mean, we saw 6.5% to 12.5% if you're looking on the data on the right, or on the left rather, in the red. And in the last 6 years, up into today's date, we only saw appreciation of 4.5 to 6.4, which is still lower levels than what we saw leading up to the housing crash. So right now, Gina, would you agree that we have a normal or a steady pace of appreciation rather than the overinflated appreciation values back at the housing crash?
Absolutely. And the reason being is because lending has, changed their guidelines, changed their restrictions, as well as, now, well, you can't just on a local appraiser and have an appraiser go out there and hey buddy, I need this kind of value. That all went away. And so now, appraisals are being ordered through appraisal management companies, which nobody is allowed to have any contact with them to have an outside influence. So it's not, values are not being pushed. Values are truly what they are, and the appreciation is staying relatively consistently, 3 to 4%, because they're not being overpriced.
I love it.
They're
And you know
not.
what's, yeah, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you,
No,
Gina,
no,
but you know what's great about that too is sellers and buyers are savvy now.
yes,
Back in the day, all of this information it wasn't viral. You couldn't just get information. And what's been fantastic about the digital age is that we're all more educated. Buyers, sellers, there's no surprises. It's all out there. We can get any information we want.
yeah, everything's at your fingertips on Google.
Absolutely. Pretty
But
neat.
don't trust everything either.
That's true.
It's not Dr. Google.
Yeah, well said.
Please refer to your lending and your real estate specialists who know this every day.
Absolutely. Especially right now. Who you work with right now more than ever matters, because it's a different world and we all have to be diving into the data and understanding technology and how that plays. So if we go back to 2008, I just want to, put a nail in this and make sure that we don't feel that this is a housing crisis. Back then and leading up to the housing crisis, it was very easy. So that red number at the top, that spike at the top, shows how easy it was for somebody to get a loan. And today, that green number at the bottom shows how difficult it is to get a loan. Gina, could you speak to that for just a second, as how the lending requirements got tightened up?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, as you noticed, back in prior to 2008, which is what led to the financial meltdown, is Wall Street broke out with these crazy programs, option arms, 2-year fix with 5-year prepays, low interest rates, stated income, stated assets, no income, no docs. I mean, you basically could get a house easier than you could get a car, which I've been in this business for 27 years and I never thought I'd see anything like that. And the writing was on the wall. And therefore it did happen.
So that means that they couldn't really afford the loan that they got. Is that what I'm hearing?
Pretty much exactly. They, stating income that maybe really was a little overinflated, things to that nature. So obviously once that the market crashed, we went back to, square one. We went back to the basics. And, like I said, I started in 93 and it was full income, full doc. You had to prove everything, including, not kidding, but kidding, firstborn and blood, blood sample and fingerprints, just to make sure that you qualified. And we kind of, joking aside, we kind of went back to that model of you had to prove everything under the sun, and even verifying what you report on your tax returns versus what went to the IRS, just to make sure people weren't forging their W-2s anymore and things like that. So having a consistent, stable programs like the fixed rate loans secure your homes. You secure your payments. You don't worry about it, influxing so much or inflating so much that you can't afford it anymore. You know what you're going to afford, and you're going to be able to afford that, for 30 years out.
Fantastic.
You're not going to have any adjustments in 2 to 5 years where job change could easily make that unaffordable.
Right. Excellent. I love that. Thank you so much for that input, Gina.
You're welcome.
And what we've been seeing also is that in the last several years, if you look at this slide, we're talking about, is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? And back in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, all that, the crash, we had the buyer's market. We had more than 7 months of inventory. And that was really in conjunction with the loans. That's what was going on back then. If you look at today, in today's market, and this slide says under 6 months is a seller's market. And if you look over to the left up against the number 3, 4, 5, we have about a 3-month inventory nationwide. If we look here locally, we've got a 2-month inventory pre-COVID. And as we're entering into COVID, we have about a 1-month inventory. So talk about, is now the right time to sell? Now is the most incredible time to sell. we are in a massive seller's market. We're also in a fantastic buyer's market. And I'm not trying to just say both to say both, but I'm going to explain myself. We're in a seller's market because we do not have any inventory. We need sellers to come to the market so that the buyers and the pent-up buyer demand has something to buy. And the buyers, the reason they have so much pent-up demand is interest rates are incredibly and historically low. So if you couldn't find a better perfect storm where sellers are still able to get top dollar and buyers are still able to afford based on the interest rate, I mean, to be honest, like right now is a no-brainer time to buy and to sell. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, Shannon, great. That sounds awesome. We have a pandemic. We're going to get sick if we try and sell or if we try to buy, which I 100% agree. And I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but I have to look at it from an investment standpoint and from a point of how can I help you? And 100% it's an awesome time to buy. And I'm going to dig into, and it's an awesome time to sell. I'm going to dig into how we keep people safe right now. Because that honestly, more than any of these charts is number one, we have to stay safe because if we're not safe, none of this other stuff matters. We can't sell or buy or do anything else. So safety is first. Oh, let me look at this. I'm going to move my little picture down so you guys can see this. I wanted to get some, here, let me put this down, some information locally. Most of us tuning in are here in Long Beach. And if you look at this is from March. This is right as we're into the middle of the pandemic and we saw a drop, right? We saw, if you look at the home sales, we're down 7.4% of home sales since this time last year. If you look at our active listings, we're down 26% since last year. But you know what's incredible? We're up 11.8% on the price. So that means our values are going up. We went up 11.8% in value. And days of market are 11 days on market on average, or in the median value. So what that means is that homes are selling very quickly because we don't have the inventory, as long as they're marketed and priced well. It's also showing that they're selling for 100% of the list price, when with only 34% reductions, which is all really, really great news for us locally here and for LA County. Now, this is happening in most parts of California and Southern California as well.
That's incredible.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
In the last 7 days, because mostly what I get, Gina, and from the sell side, from the realtor standpoint, is are things even moving? Is stuff really happening? So I wanted to give you a snapshot of the last 7 days. In the last 7 days, this is local to Long Beach. I pulled this report on the 6th. So I'm off by 2 days, but I needed to put this slide together. So in the last 7 days, 53 homes sold and 63 came to market in Long Beach area. So for the question of are things going on market and are they coming off market, are they selling? The answer is yes. Yes. So that leads me to the next question. This is Gina's world. How are interest rates?
That's a pretty accurate numbers right there that you got on the screen. Yeah, they're amazing. I'm actually pleasantly surprised that we've been able to maintain these low rates to help get us through here in this situation and try and encourage the economy to keep going while we're dealing with this pandemic. I haven't seen rates this low, to be honest, since 2015, and prior to that was 2012. So that just kind of shows you how long it's taken to even get back to these rates. So now is the perfect time to buy, sell, refi. I mean, it's like Shannon said, it's a win-win for everybody right now.
Yeah.
Because yes, as we know, home values are higher than they were in 2015 or 2012. It really gives you more buying power when and help buyers, more buyers get qualified when rates are in the low threes. That definitely brings down your payment versus what we're 2018 we were in the 5.5 range, and that just killed us. That really slowed down the market. So it's good to see this. It's good to see people being able to get into their first homes with a low interest rate and something they can afford.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. And this next slide is going to drive it home even more. about this time last year in December, rates were just a smidge higher. If you look at it, I mean, a half a percentage point or 3/4 of a percentage point, which
Yeah.
doesn't seem like a lot, but look at how much it affects your payment and how much you can save over the life of the loan. It's almost 30K. And Gina, I think interest rates are even better than this today, correct? Or were they still right
Um,
around there?
they've been, the market's been very volatile as far
Yeah,
as, being able to flatten out. But we just got some information today saying that they're going to probably continue to be this low, if not maybe even a little bit better. But, so
awesome.
we'll see some days up at 3.3, and then we'll see days where it's, 3.1.
Yeah,
And so you just got to time it right. But it's still, I mean, come on. People used to be happy when we were at 8% back in 2005. And then,
right.
and then in 2009, we were at 5%, and everybody was thrilled about that. So
Yeah,
threes, I mean, your car interest rates are higher than that. Your credit card interest rates are higher than that. I mean,
yeah,
long-term 30-year fixed at the low threes, that is insane. That is
it's insane.
amazing. Yeah. And
I mean,
why?
when I bought my home with you last year, Gina, I think my rate was 4.75 or 4.5. And
Yes,
now I'm seeing these crying. I need to refi.
right. And the other good thing is our loan amount limits have raised too. So, not to go off on a mortgage lending tangent, but every year they roll out what your county loan limits are. And nationwide now the conforming loan amount limits are 510, 400, which means if your loan amount is below 510, 400, you can get these rates. These are true rates in the low threes for conforming loan amount. Um,
Awesome. I love
Once
it.
you go over that, you're in what we call super conforming, which puts you in the next tier. So the rates are going to be a tad bit higher, but still in the threes, mid threes. And it's just better than being in a jumbo, because that's where you're going to start to see the higher rates. So it definitely, again, gives you more buying power, higher loan amounts, because they know the home values are increasing. So they have to offset that. Otherwise, everybody would be either super conforming or jumbo, which is they're more difficult to get. So
Yeah.
again, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. And I know this is a seller, excuse me. I know this is a seller seminar and we're diving deep into what the buyers are doing, but you know, this is important information when selling because it helps
Everybody.
drive home and understand why people are still buying. Because the biggest question right now is, should I sell my home and how can I get top dollar? These are some of the reasons and the supporting data of why.
And if you're selling, most likely you're going to be buying as well. So,
Correct. There you go.
right?
So now you can really, leverage yourself and use all that equity you had in your previous home to get into your next home and now use these incredible interest rates to just keep your payment nice and low. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You can't borrow money this cheap ever.
No, no.
Okay, so this leads us to the next question. Is there buyer demand? Shannon, that's great. Interest rates are low, but are people actually shopping? And let's look at the demand. People are trying to grab those keys. They're trying to get into a house. To be honest, they're bored at their house. I don't know if you guys seen those TikTok videos, bored in the house. Yeah, I'm bored at the house, and then some other.
Love that.
So, right, they're bored. They're ready. They're online shopping.
Yes.
And here's some of the data and the slides. I'm going to move my slide down. I hope this is not in your guys' way. But in the last 12 months, we saw housing supplies start to tick up, which is great. And then we start to see it tick down. And we've been in a housing shortage for at least the last 4 years, if not longer. But there is no housing supply. So putting your house on the market and getting it in front of people is golden right now.
Really have the upper
The
hand.
thing won't let me change slides. Here we go. And if we look at the data of showings in North America, pre-COVID showings, this is from Showing Time. So it's a service that allows realtors and non-realtors and regular people schedule showings. These are live showings and digital showings. We started to see these showings peak back in the beginning of March, and they were continuing to climb. And obviously we had a shelter in place order and those numbers went down. And if you look, even in the middle of last month, those numbers started to come up. And what's that saying is, like I said, people are bored in the house. They're ready to get out there and start shopping. And the original fear that everybody had has dissipated. I even had sellers talk to me just as this was going, and they said, forget it, we're not doing anything right now. We're scared. And I think that's the sentiment of the entire nation. And now that we've been through it, and now that we're starting to see the shelter in place orders be lifted, here in Long Beach, we're getting, as of today, of Friday, stores are starting to open. We're seeing that, I don't want to say lack of fear, because people are being cautious, and we want to adhere to safety first no matter what, but we're starting to see people come back and not being so scared, which is pushing and driving our economy forward.
Absolutely. They're just talking about on the news right before we joined this that people are looking to buy homes that have office space so they can work from home, or additional rooms. And so they've really had time to think about, hey, I need to move, and this is what I want now. And
they know exactly what they want and what they don't want.
Yes, exactly. So even the news is reporting, this is a good time to buy, and sellers are really wanting to sell.
Yeah. And here's another slide. Zillow, they track a lot of online traffic as well. And it's picked up since March 22nd, even more so than April of last year. So the buyer demand is out there. We just need more listings. We need more listings in Southern California. We need them across the globe, to be honest. We're in a housing shortage, which is why there's, so many new sticks in the air, new buildings coming up. So I'm hoping that I've convinced you that now is a good time to sell, and rather than convincing that the data has shown you that it's a good time to sell.
Right.
So what is the virtual home selling process, and how can I stay safe in this environment? And I had some people text me over some of their questions. Can you even sell right now? Because nobody wants to go out, and I'm not sure that I want to sell until I have the next place. And does the house have to be vacant? So these are some of the questions that I'm hoping to answer. And Gina, if I don't hit those questions, could you remind me as well?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So here's what's happening. Here's what the data. So Realtor.com has analyzed the data of what are people doing right now, and is the technology that we're providing actually working? And 61% of people said, yeah, they'll virtual tour a home, and they prefer to do that right now because they don't want to walk into someone's house. Second to that is the 58% is making sure that there's accurate and detailed listing information. So let's say you've got a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, but you actually have a 2-bedroom, 2 bath. It's really important to make sure that we market correctly and accurately. The 51% of people are looking for is they want high quality listing photos. And I don't know if you've been shopping, if you have a crummy, dingy photo, it's going to reflect even more right now that your home is dark and undesirable versus before. Even more important now because buyers want to see that you've got really beautiful photos. At the very bottom rather, at 39% is video chat walkthrough with the agent or the landlord. So what we've been doing is we're taking the phone through the house. So the sellers are doing it and I'm doing it. And we're also doing virtual or digital open houses where instead of holding an open house where from 12 to 3 that you've got 50 to 100 people walking through your home, now we're doing that digitally. So digitally we can even reach more than 50 to 100 people, which is fantastic. So we're promoting digitally through the internet of how to capture eyes on your home, and not one single person has stepped into your house. No coughing, no doorknob touching, no sneezing, so we feel safer.
And I think it just wasn't what I'm trying to find the right words. It's a little more personal. You feel like you're getting more one-on-one attention. You get to see the house, ask as many questions as you need to, and you don't
showing.
And you have serious buyers that really are looking to buy. They're not just looky-loos. They're not the neighbors coming over just to see what kind of improvements you've done so they can go replicate it in their home or whatnot. You're getting serious people that really want to move and really want to buy, especially during this time. So
absolutely,
I think it's a positive during this time.
I agree. Thank you, Gina. Yeah, the window shoppers have been cut. No one's coming in to figure out their remodel.
Yeah.
They're looking to buy your home, which is great.
Right, exactly.
I'm going to play just one of these just so you have an idea. I put two examples up here of how we do virtual tours and what's happening in the industry as a whole. And I'm just going to play this one for a few seconds so you can see what's happening. Oh, that's loud. I don't know if it's loud for you guys. So we're getting the overview. We're getting an aerial shot diving into your home. We do a full-blown walkthrough. This is how the digital marketing is happening.
Realty Group and CNC Realty. I'm at my newest listing today, 4447 North Country Club Lane. It is the most spectacular house. I can't wait for you to see inside. Come on, let's go.
And then we're going into the property, etc. You know how these videos go, but I just wanted to show an example of how we as realtors, and of course my company, stands out. But in today's digital age with the pandemic, if you need to buy or sell, it's happening. And if you want to buy or sell, it's happening. And this is the way through digital marketing and pricing strategically gets your home sold for top dollar, even in a pandemic. So here's a great slide of just showing how are buyers even navigating this process, because from a seller, we want to make sure buyers can get into our house and see the property. And basically they're doing a test drive of the neighborhood, and any buyers that are interested, I help navigate them through this as well. And to be honest, everyone's super tech savvy right now. I mean, before the pandemic, no one know how to use Zoom. And now, right, Gina? And every single meeting and everything that we do is on Zoom. My whole life is on Zoom now. So, you know, we're all figuring out how to navigate these uncharted territories, and we're all doing a good job at it. So how can we sell safely? And this is going to dig into what we talked about first. And honestly, safety is number one. And, you know, if you look at that first little section here of safety first, we have to wear masks and gloves and booties, and we have a no-touch policy. So basically, once somebody looks at your virtual photos online, they do a virtual tour, they've come to a virtual open house or any of those things, and they're still serious and they want to see your property, at that point, then we schedule an appointment. And before they can even walk through those doors, they get pre-approved with Gina or anybody else or whoever their lender is before they walk in the door. And what's great about that is you don't have those looky-loos. And yeah, maybe we don't have huge numbers, but you know what? The numbers that we have when they come in the door are solid. They have solid buyers walking in the door. And when they put on those gloves, they slip on the gloves, we now have a no-touch policy where even if they did touch something, there's no human contact. It's now gloved contact. And that's also with masks. The second thing is we do virtual showings first. We have them drive by in person. If at that point they still want to come, that's when they have them come. We do the California Association of Realtors, they were on this from, you know, day one of shelter in place of how do we protect our consumer. And they made 6 different disclosures and signature requirements to get people safe and knowledgeable about what's happening in the marketplace right now. One of those in particular that I wanted to talk about was what's called the PED. And basically it's how do we tell sellers and buyers how to stay safe during this time, and everybody signs it before they walk through the door. So they know that they have to wear masks and gloves and booties. So you're protected as a seller, I'm protected as an agent, and all parties walking through are also protected. What's nice about this too is we only allow 1 or 2 people in at a time, and kids are not allowed to come, elderly are not allowed to come. So it's only the decision makers that are looking to buy are going to be in your home. And Gina, obviously the pre-approval is your world. So if you could speak to that. I know we're nailing this one 100 times, but do you want to hit that one as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it behooves both the buyer and the seller. So on the selling side, when you're looking at accepting offers, you want a pre-approval, a strong pre-approval, and not just a pre-qualification where the loan officers maybe glance things over. You want a pre-approval where, you know, we've verified the credit, we've verified their assets, they have the money to put down, or they're selling a home, so they know you're going to get the proceeds from that sale to buy the home they're putting an offer on, would say, you know, you as a seller. And it assures that seller that you have a strong buyer, somebody's verified income, assets, credit, things like that. And what separates Movement out from a lot of other lenders is we do what we call a MBA. That's our term. But what it means is not only do myself as a loan officer, which I know what to look for. Again, I've been doing this for 27 years, but we also send it over to our underwriters to officially sign off on that income, credit, and assets. And that way we can remove those financial contingencies. So if you get a pre-approval from Movement Mortgage, you know that underwriters already verified all that. And so that gives you peace of mind as a seller to accept that offer. On the flip side, for a buyer, it's so important to have a pre-approval, because then you are looking in the price range that you know you can afford. You've gone over it with either myself or another lender. We've broken down what the payment's going to be. We know how much you can put down. We know what your scores are. We know what the rates are going to be. So then you go out shopping with that confidence, and you put that offer in, you know what to expect. There's not going to be any surprises. And you know you have a strong pre-approval to submit to that seller. Gives
Yeah.
you
And
step ahead.
yeah, and to piggyback on that, for sellers, what's really important is making sure that the loan's actually going to close, Gina, right?
Yes, 100%.
And
100%.
in the last few weeks since COVID hit, we saw loans come offline and come back online and offline. So loans have been all over the place. And Gina, I'm sure, has experienced this, but at the last second, buyers trying to get into property, they had to get pre-approved all over again right at the last second to make sure they still had a job.
Yeah. We go through a few phases right before closing. If they're self-employed, we make them, not only do we verify like CPA letters, things like that, but we're also going to make them sign a certificate saying, yes, I am still employed. I'm still running my business. It has not been affected. That way, we're not on the hook. They confirmed and signed saying that, yes, my business is still going. For the W-2, we also, we verify with their employer one more time. We normally do it twice, but we're actually doing almost 3 times, and also a certificate saying, yes, I still am employed by X, Y, and Z. So we know that this home is going to close, and we're not going to end up with, first payment default. So there are steps extra that we have taken, but it definitely helps and gives everybody, again, peace of mind knowing this is going to close.
Right. Awesome. I love that. Thank you. And in a lot of situations, we're still seeing multiple offers on the table for selling properties. So in that scenario, your realtor that you choose and your lender can be a great source to help choose the correct offer so it does close. So let's say you've got 5 offers on the table. What we do is we pre-qualify them, or cross-check, or cross-qualify. You might have heard some of those terms before, with Gina, to say, look, Gina, they look like they're strong. They look like they have good financial backing, but do you think these are going to close based on the data? And that's how we really have a supportive team on this end.
100%, because that way, they chose to say, go with one of the bigger banks, the conglomerates. Well, they may or may not be able to close on time, and you don't want your buyer or your seller on pins and needles waiting to find out if this is going to go through, where it's always good to have a backup lender and somebody who knows that can be there. And again, what sets us apart is we deal with a lot with that, where they've gone with a bigger bank or they've gone with a credit union, and their turn times are slower and they might not meet that closing date. We've gotten what we call a rescue deal, where they've yanked it from that lender, given it to us, and we can close in less than 8 days. We put those to the top. We, skip over everybody else in line, and we push that thing through so fast to try still meet that closing date, if not on time, but within a few days. So you're not losing any money. You're not losing, time. People got to move, especially if they're contingent, things like that. So we help any way we possibly can when it comes to.
I love that. I love that, because buying and selling is more than buying and selling. It's people's lives uprooted. And that's why we're in the business, is we love what we do.
Yes.
And we get to help people every single day get into the house that they love, or get out of the house that they love, or that they can't afford any longer. So we're so blessed, Gina. We have such a cool job.
Yes. I'm still here 27 years later. Obviously there's a reason for it. So I love helping people, and I love seeing, people get the home and try to cut down on, it is a stressful thing. And like I always say, it's not like buying a TV. It's a house. It's your mortgage.
Yeah.
You can't return it. So the easier I can make it on you, the better. I won't
Uh,
kid, it's not going to Disneyland or anything. And it does take a village to get us through this process. But with mine and Shannon's expertise and knowledge and experience, we try to make it as less painful as possible.
yeah. And I'm not sure if one of the slides is going to hit this, but one of the questions I get all the time, and I was even guilty of it last year, is I didn't want to sell my house until I had another house. And to be honest, in today's market, with so few properties on the market, and we're still seeing multiple offers, it's almost that you need to sell your house first and then find what you want. And if we can time it where you get both, even better. But to be honest, it's almost like you got to rip the band-aid off and then figure out how to make it heal afterwards. You got to get the house sold first so you have the money to get into the next property. And two is, with a multiple offer situation, if you have a contingency, imagine you're selling your house and you know it's going to take about 30 days in escrow to sell your house, but you're not sure if this person you chose to buy the house, if they're going to sell their house in 30 days. So there's this waiting game and this game of control that you don't have over that next person behind you. So imagine how that is going in on the other side. And just being real and having that pot of money to go into your next property where you don't feel rushed, you don't have to make a bad decision. It's a really smart move. And we can always do a lease back on your property, or we can get you into rental in the meantime until you find that house that you do love.
And I can speak on this firsthand, and good thing my brother-in-law's not on this. I advised them, they lived here in California and they wanted to sell their home and they wanted to move to Arizona. And I told them, do not go shopping or put an offer in on a home in Arizona until you at least have an offer on your home and under contract and moving forward, because you just don't know. And they did not listen to me. They went and put an offer in on a house in Arizona within like 2 weeks, and they still did not have an offer. And this was last year. Of course, it's just different kind of market, but we had to scramble, but we were able to pull it off and time it to where they were only about 2 weeks late in closing on the house in Arizona versus selling their house in California. But it just puts everybody under more stress when you don't at least have an offer on your home before you even start to go shopping for a new home. Don't do it backwards. Don't put an offer in on a home and then try to sell, because you're just going to stress yourself out and it put everybody under the gun. So Shannon's absolutely right. Have it up for sale, have an offer on, a secured offer, even the approvals done on it. And then, put your offers in. So then it can be a smooth transition and hopefully not have to move twice.
Yeah. And to be honest, selling a home is stressful. And so my job and Gina's job and our team of people is to make it as easy and stress-free as possible. And, that's what we love to do. So this question was posed, how do I sell for top dollar in a pandemic? And I put this silly picture up of what it really looks like in today's marketplace, but really with masks, gloves, and data. And a digital or a virtual marketing plan. Gosh, those words are hard to say. A digital and a virtual marketing plan. So if you're considering selling in today's marketplace, the way you get top dollar is working with somebody who knows the market and knows the data and understands how to work in this climate. And I'm hoping, as this picture shows, it's just a reminder of things are still happening and homes are still closing. This home closed. We did it was a duplex, and we did a virtual home inspection, a virtual closing and walkthrough, and documents were signed with a notary going out to their home. So it is happening, it is possible, and things are happening. Like that slide I showed you, 53 closed last week here in Long Beach. So who you choose matters, and just make sure, whether it's me, gosh, I would be honored to work with you. Who you choose right now matters more than it ever has. Work with somebody who understands and knows the data, please. And you can always reach out to us and connect here. I think I saw a question pop up.
Yep.
Gina, are you able to see the questions if you wanted to?
Shouldn't I wait until things ease up before listing?
Good question. So, you know what, honestly, whatever your decision is of how you want to list, is completely up to you. And I support you 100%. And I will do whatever you need to keep your family healthy and safe. And the market is going and there is no inventory and buyers are out there with that pent up demand. So you can sell your house right now for top dollar. We can stage it or put items away and declutter it and get it sold. That way you can be in the home or you can move out of the home. Really, it's a conversation that we should talk through together. I can put a Calendly link, or I can email everyone who attended the Calendly link of how you can set up 15 minutes, and we can just talk over your situation specifically and answer that question a little bit better and more in depth. But yes, it's absolutely possible. So if there's any other questions, please drop them in the Q&A. I hope that we answered all of your questions and that we did a good market update for you so you understand what's happening in today's marketplace and how to sell your home for top dollar in a pandemic. And Gina, did any other questions pop in?
No, it's just checking again.
Okay. I saw
Any.
you look up, so all right, perfect. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'll send you guys this recording if you want to look over it again later. If you would like to send it to anybody, please do. Our information is here up on the screen that you can follow us. And thank you for tuning in. Please, out of everything, number one, stay healthy because nothing else matters in the world unless you're safe and you're healthy. So, all right, signing off. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend.